Hey, it might be. It could be. It is. It's the Nerd Chats. We're here. Welcome, everybody. True confession time. We were doing live stream topic discussions this week, and Mandalorian and Grogu came up, and Tim was like, yeah, they had the Super Bowl trailer. I had no recollection that there was a trailer during the Super Bowl, and I went back. We were texting, right? We texted about Masters of the Universe during the Super Bowl. We texted about Disclosure Day, the new Spielberg thing. The Mandalorian and Grogu trailer was nothing. We didn't speak of it, and we haven't spoke of it since. And that's weird to me because I remember most of my life, Star Wars has been an event. When a trailer dropped, you stopped what you were doing. When a movie came out, the whole culture felt it. But this time, it's quiet. And that has me asking, why doesn't this Star Wars feel like a moment? Is it the marketing? Is it Disney strategy? Is it franchise fatigue? But tonight, we're going to dig into all of that. The Super Bowl trailer, the future of the franchise, what's actually coming next, and whether Star Wars still has the cultural impact it used to. But we're not alone tonight. Tonight we have Travis from withtravis.com, who does movie reviews specifically for families, and will bring a really interesting perspective and probably has the best angle on whether Star Wars is still relevant to families. Do they care anymore? So I'll start with Travis. Did you have a reaction to the Mandalorian and Grogu Super Bowl trailer? Did you remember that it happened? Or am I the only one?
So I didn't catch it during the Super Bowl. I had to go back and watch it because I heard there was a trailer. I humorously appreciated the poking fun at, I guess, Budweiser or the horses and all of that type of stuff. But at the same time, I was like, that's funny, that's cool. I was also let down though. I was like, where's the big, like you said, where's the big moment that everything gets dropped so we can watch this new Star Wars trailer?
Yeah. I mean, Tim, you obviously didn't forget, but we didn't text about it either. So, what was your reaction to the Mandalorian launch, the trailer launch at the Super Bowl?
I mean, it was, it was forgettable. I think that's, and for one thing to say that about a Star Wars project is something, to say that it's forgettable. So, I barely remembered any of it. I did remember that Sigourney Weaver was at the beginning. That's all I remembered. So, other than that, I couldn't really remember. There was that one cool scene where the AT-AT falls off the mountain. I think that was like a moment that people saw. And for the most part, everything else in there, it's just, typical generic Star Wars action stuff. And that's stuff that you could get from any video game trailer. So I don't know. It looked very, very forgettable. And I think it's very, very sad that's kind of where we're at with it right now.
And see, I saw that trailer, but I thought the one that came on during the Super Bowl was the one that was like the Anheuser-Busch horses running through.
Yes, they did do that as well.
That's the one I saw. The one that you're talking about, I saw later, but it was still a little underwhelming. Yeah.
Yes.
And I will say, it used to be the Sigourney Weaver appearance would be a stamp of nerd quality. You would know going in, oh, well, Sigourney Weaver, Alien, Battlestar, or no, what's the one with Tim Allen? I had a brain lapse, but
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. You knew Sigourney Weaver was bringing quality, but just in that small snippet, it looked just like she looked in the Netflix team up. The Marvel Netflix team up. What was it? The Defenders. And that's Sigourney Weaver in full check cashing mode.
That's exactly right.
That was
at least
the vibe.
I mean,
Yeah. She's not. She's not giving you Zool.
It's not the gatekeeper here. Not the gatekeeper.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
No, she used to be a gatekeeper. If she opened the gate, okay, there's good stuff inside. Now, that doesn't clear the trepidation. We do have comments in the queue. We'll bring this up. A Thug Dog said, so this movie looks like they tried cramming all the elements of each season into a movie. Big name actor, a side character, diehard type scenes, Grogu eating and using the Force, etc. So I don't know.
Things we've seen before.
Yeah. Does this feel like a greatest hits? Travis, do you think that's what they're giving us instead of a new story?
That's what it feels like from the trailer. I mean, it's all stuff we've seen before, and so if there's some surprises in there, you may need to at least give us some hints of that, or maybe they're trying to just pull in people that haven't watched the series. But then again, why would you do that? You've got to see the series. So it seems like greatest hits to me.
Silly. Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think, Tim? Do they have anything new to say?
Yeah, like I said, it was a lot of just generic Star Wars stuff. I mean, I think there were a few little things in there. I mean, we saw Rotta the Hutt, right? Which I think we haven't seen him since which animated series was it where he was like small? Was that Rebels or which one was that?
I think it was Clone Wars. Clone Wars.
Ahsoka, the original Clone Wars movie, right before the show started.
Clone Wars movie. Okay, so we haven't seen Rotta the Hutt since then. Probably could have done without seeing Rotta the Hutt again. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of taking a deeper dive than looking for one of the baby Hutts all grown up. And he appears to be some kind of like a, I don't know. Is he like a fighter of some kind or something? It looked really interesting.
It Gladiator, like an arena fighter or something.
Yeah, like an arena fighter, which you would think that the Hutts wouldn't do because they typically would like go make people fight, not go fight themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean? The whole thing was just a little interesting, but I mean. That's the thing. I don't dive that deep into characters and EU and all that kind of stuff. If it's not like base level Star Wars, so I'm just past all that. So, but yeah, for the most part, the trailer really kind of left a lot to be desired. Just kind of looked like generic Star Wars, insert here kind of stuff.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people trying to explain that Hutts are really strong and this isn't a big departure, but man, I've seen a lot of Hutts. The Jabba's not the only Hutt I've ever seen on screen. We talk about the Clone Wars movie, Clone Wars. There was a lot of Hutts in that, and you just watched the Book of Boba Fett, and there was a bunch of Hutts, and all those Hutts looked vaguely like Jabba the Hutt. There were no ripped Hutts with abs and pectoral muscles and giant arms. So I don't know. They're
just
trying
when
to
you thought you'd seen all the Hutts, now you get fighting Gladiator. Hutt.
You get Arnold the Hutt.
Arnold the
Hutt. We got a new comment in here. Looks like
Greg. He says. He says he doesn't think they understand just how bad of a state the brand is in. They're acting like it's 2015 hype levels. So, I was going to say, I've been doing a Scream thing, and I think one of my key observations comes back here. Franchises develop in two ways, right? Your first model is your sequel model, and this is your horror action movie franchise model where you make a thing and it was just supposed to be that thing. It was not, but you make a lot of money and you're like, oh crap, let's make another one. And that was just you're only going to make one more, right? But you make a lot of money. So you make another one. But the problem, and then the other model is the serial model, which is Star Wars was designed from the beginning to be like, the old serial movies. You're not starting at the beginning and you're not ending at the end. These are ongoing adventures. You came into episode 4, and I know it wasn't called that at the thing, but George wanted you to come into the middle of something. And that's also the way things like the MCU work. This is an ongoing universe. There's going to be more adventures. And from the start, you leave things open because you know you're going to be telling more stories. But the problem with the sequel model is that you wrap everything up at the end every time. And then you've got to, when you decide to make another one, you've got to open it back up again and find reasons that you're back and a new challenge. And it becomes more and more strained. And since the end of season 2, Mandalorian has moved to the sequel model because he got totally resolved at the end of 2. It got totally resolved again at the end of 3. And now we're back. And it's like, dude, we just left these 2 retired in a swamp somewhere. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you guys see that? Do you guys think that? I mean, it feels like not Star Warsy to have to invent reasons to revisit these characters.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the movies that I think is a good example of what you're talking about, Dan, where they planned on making one and it was just so overwhelmingly successful that they had to make more, and then it just didn't make sense, was Transformers, right? You make Transformers and you hear this big story about all this all the Allspark and all the war that they're having and doing all this stuff, and then they go out there and they defeat the Decepticons in battle and all this stuff, and then Transformers 2 comes out and it's like, well, that wasn't the real war. The real war that the Decepticons were trying to do was this next big war. And you're just like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't they have just skipped to the big war and done so it didn't really make any sense. And so what you end up doing is you end up kind of like writing over yourself. And I think that's kind of what they've done in The Mandalorian. We had the perfect wrap up to the Mandalorian story in season 2, the very end where he goes with Luke and he does, we had the very perfect ending to that. And there could have been all kinds of opportunities for spinoff and whatever to just come and leave it right there. But then they had to come back for season 3. And now that they've come back for season 3, they just completely undid everything. And so it just completely felt like they had to keep going, because this was the number one thing that was original to Disney Plus that people actually liked, but they've kind of pushed it a little too far. I think going past season 2 was a huge mistake.
Yeah. Do you, Travis, at what point, or do you think they're still doing good, or did you also feel like there was a drop off after 2?
I think the quality has gone down. There were parts that were enjoyable, and I stuck with it, and I'll still stick with it. I'll go see Mandalorian and Grogu, but I think what we see in like Transformers, like Tim brought up, and another movie franchise, you start out with just one story, and the writers set out to write that story. Now, the original Star Wars trilogy, he had a story that was going all through 3 of those movies for the most part, and there was a cohesive story. And so when you set out to write a larger story where there's going to be 3 acts, that works. But like with Transformers, you can't write something and wrap it up, and that was the story you're going to tell, and then all of a sudden, oh well, let's tell some more stories. Unless you've got a really good reason to tell that story.
Exactly.
And a lot of the things that Hollywood's putting out just don't even have that. I mean, and even some of that has happened in Marvel. We don't really have a reason to tell more of this story, but we are going to.
Yeah, we're going. And the more times you do it, like
these characters sell,
Yeah, like the first time. So the second movie in a sequel franchise, maybe you come up with a pretty good reason, right? But now you've used that one and you wrapped it up again at the end,
Exactly.
And now you got to come up with a third one and a fourth one. So, Greg is saying,
Illumination is terrible about this. I think it's them. With all the sequels to Minions and Despicable Me, and now we're gonna get I guess DreamWorks too. Another Shrek movie. Like, do we need another one of these stories? Because the first,
if you don't leave a dangling plot thread, it's really, really hard to go back and create one. And that's what happens in like the Minions movies and all those. There's really not a dangling plot thread. Now, like at the end of The Incredibles, for example, they left the dangling plot thread there, right? They left the Underminer and they put the masks on, and you knew more stuff was going to happen. If you don't do that at the end of a movie, right? If you don't tease at the end of the Transformers movie that maybe there was more, or maybe there was something you missed, or there was another person pulling the strings and all that kind of stuff, that's exactly where this just doesn't make any sense. It's like they're making it up as they go just because they know they've got a big brand. And I just can't stand when these IPs do that. And
the original Star Wars did that so well, the original trilogy, because you get Emperor Palpatine, just little glimpses of him in the second episode, you know, and then he becomes this big plot point in the third one, I feel like we don't see that anymore a lot of times, unless they're basing something off of a book. There's a lot of good book series out there that they're making movies about now, and that works for the most part if you follow the book.
You would think with the popularity of franchises and they want sequels and everything that they would go in with a plan up front. Like, this is going to be 3-4 installments. We're going to plant seeds for the future, but they don't. You end up with, we told a complete story. It's all done. We wrapped everything up, and now we got to find a reason why these people are going on more adventures. And it strains a little bit more every time. And Greg is saying that, 3 left a bad taste after the high of season 2. And, also we missed one up here. We have my pants are wet saying, will they finally wrap up the story or just lead another potential chapter after for these two? So that's the thing. They keep wrapping up the story, fairly well, but they keep reopening it. And 2 was kind of you could have followed Mando without Grogu after 2, but the problems may have been baked into in the sequel trilogy to begin with, because Grogu ends up being the most popular thing Disney has made, and we know what happens to him if he stays with Luke. We know that Kylo and his Knights of Ren.
Yeah. I mean, he had to have a quote unquote reason to leave, because they honestly did not think about that, right? So that's why. But this is, once again, this is people. If this is why messing with something that never needed to be messed with is exactly why it's always going to make things messier than it needed to be. Had we not had that introduced to us in the prequel trilogy, all of a sudden, that would have been the perfect ending to Mandalorian season 2. We could have just washed our hands and moved on. But they had to go back and fix it, because people pointed out, hey, you realize that you just killed Grogu by doing that, right? So it's just funny. But he says, and G-Reg says it, he says, they feel like they can just put any Star Wars on anything and it'll sell. I mean, it will. That's the reason. But I just feel like nobody's talking about this. It's just silly. You know what I mean? It's just silly.
I think the major problem that tinges a lot of otherwise good content is that it unfortunately leads to Luke drinking the milk. Yeah, you end up
absolutely.
You can retroactively tarnish so many things when you leave your heroes in a bad place.
Yeah,
Luke ending up there, if you have that in your mind, diminishes your enjoyment of rewatching Return of the Jedi or The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Rhodey, right? Rhodey, Rhodey, we all will look at the scene of him at Tony's funeral and be like, that scumbag, that's not Rhodey. You know what I mean? And it's all because they just had to push the envelope and go just a little further with the story. They couldn't leave well enough alone. They couldn't reboot. They just decided to go ahead and add to a story that had a perfect ending. When you add to a story that has a perfect ending, it will never get better. Never. It can only get worse.
I was rewatching Winter Soldier because it was on TV the other day, and Captain America was talking to Nick Fury and said something about, why don't you trust me? And he says, the last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye. And immediately when he says that line, which was cool the first time I saw that movie and the second and third time, but this time I think, no, he lost his eye to a space cat.
I've often thought back on that line and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't play the same when he lost.
It doesn't make any sense.
He comically lost his eye to a space cat. So we'll go back up here. Flash Press says, let's talk titles.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
They both have been. What's that? Yeah, why is it not just called Mandalorian the movie? Why do they have to throw the name Grogu in there? What do you think?
Sells. All the Grogu dolls.
I mean, I feel like did they really have to emphasize that Grogu was in the movie? I guess I just don't understand, that Grogu was the only reason anybody came back for Mandalorian season 2. And
it probably should have been the Mandalorian Baby Yoda.
Exactly.
And Baby Yoda.
Call it Mandalorian and Baby Yoda season 2. They didn't do that because it would have been silly. It is a very, very crazy title. I feel like Star Wars is known for having very easy titles. You know what I mean? And this is not an easy title. This is a title that it's just one of those, like announcing the characters in the movie titles. I just don't think that works out well.
This is like if Empire Strikes Back was called Luke and Han and Chewbacca and Leia on another adventure.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make.
They've already
sense.
tried this with the Han Solo movie. What they call
Han Solo's adventure. Should they have given Grogu top billing? That's a question. Guys, do you think it should be Grogu and the Mandalorian?
Well,
I think the puppeteer would have to get paid more money then. How
many people are going to recognize who that name even is? Because I hear people still refer to him as Baby Yoda. Like,
yeah.
Oh, Baby Yoda.
Well, viewership. Maybe they had to put Grogu's name in there, hoping people recognize it, because viewership steadily tailed off, especially after 2. So maybe people, like, if you just call it the Mandalorian, some people think that Grogu is still with Luke Skywalker because they didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett. They didn't watch season 3. They have no idea. They think that Grogu's still off getting Jedi training. So you got to tell people up front, no, Baby Yoda's in this one. You put him on the poster, you put his name there. I don't know. But generally speaking, like I was going to ask her, like, do you think families are still interested in Star Wars, or is it just 35, 40-year-old dudes that grew up loving Star Wars?
For the most part, I mean, most of the seasons have been decently family friendly. I mean, there's not been a lot of stuff families can't watch, but I hear kids, and I'm around kids a lot. I hear them talking less about Star Wars these days. And so the ones I think that are into Star Wars really have the nerd dads, that have pulled them in to some of the things that they love, like, we've done with our kids. But it's still family friendly, and I think there's a family element to it. But are a lot of families going to see it? I don't know. I don't know that that's the case.
Yeah, Gerg it's right into this. He says, what do we think the hype level is about different types of fans? He's not seeing much among normies or hardcores. I mean, those are your polar opposite groups. You're just your average public and your hardcore fans, and he's not seeing excitement in either one of those groups. Tim, do you think there's excitement anywhere for this franchise?
I think here's what Disney is hoping. Disney is hoping that there is a young couple out on a date that doesn't know what movie they want to go see. And they look up and the boy's like, oh, there's something Star Wars. And then the girl looks and says, oh, and that cute little alien is in the movie. and they'll just both be happy to go see the movie. That's what I think Disney is hoping, because right now they're not promoting it to the point where they're really wanting to go after the Star Wars audience. If they were really wanting to go after the Star Wars audience, I think that I think they would have come up with a different title. Like it would have been like The Mandalorian, the Age of blah 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 or whatever. They would have come up with a title that would have, if they really wanted to go after the Star Wars audience, they would have really gone after us with the title. They would have really gone after us with a trailer that speaks to us, and they really would have given us a plot line that we know, okay, this is what's going to happen in this movie. Right now, there's nothing but just generic Star Wars stuff. So this feels like the kind of movie where people are not going to decide they're going to see it until they're into the theater, kind of thing. And I think that's probably that might be what they're counting on. Let's see if we can make a Star Wars afterthought movie work. And that's kind of silly because you've got such a passionate fan base that you could be relying on for ticket sales. I don't anticipate it having a good box office, and that's a shame.
I would say, I've told this story on here before, but I mean, it's just a symptom of the overall franchise. It's just fading into the nether, because just this last year in early November, I was at Spirit Halloween, because I show up the day after Halloween to get costumes and decorations for next year. It's just a tradition. You go, you get the stuff 50% off, you get some cool Ghostbuster stuff like a Ghost Trap or something, And what I noticed was there was no Star Wars section at Spirit Halloween. There's usually a whole aisle of Darth Vaders and Chewbacca's and Darth Mauls and
Boba
Padawan
Fett.
costumes, Boba Fett, like a whole aisle of it. Now I'm going there. There's still a whole section for the Flintstones, man. You can get Fred, Barney, Betty, Wilma. I'm talking about a primetime cartoon from the 60s. Still has a section. And when were the Flintstones movies? Those were in the 90s, right? That's got a section. But there's not a Star Wars anything in the whole place. Because then I'm like, there's not an aisle. Is there? There was nothing. And you go to spirithalloween.com, there's some stuff. But at the physical store, nothing. And then I started thinking back to the trick-or-treaters. There were no Star Wars trick-or-treaters. None. So, Travis, when was the last time that you think Star Wars felt big, like a big deal, and everybody, like it was culture level big?
I think we saw that right before we kind of got into this new trilogy. This last trilogy has left a bad taste in people's mouth. The Old Republic stuff that they brought out, not good, left bad taste in people's mouth. But I think before that, I think there was excitement. Oh, we're going to get a new trilogy. Disney's taking it over. The people that had kind of lost faith in George Lucas with the prequel trilogy, like, hey, this could be really good. This could be exciting. And I think even to a point, once we got The Force Awakens, the first one, like there was still excitement until we realized that Disney really had no idea where they were going with that trilogy, and they changed up writers and directors, and that it just became a nightmare. But I think building up to that, I think we had some of that. And I think we saw kids dressed even after A Force Awakens as Rey. I remember kids dressing up as Rey. One of my girls went as Rey for Halloween. That was an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. But we've just had so many negative punches since then with so many different things and all the stuff they're putting on Disney Plus. Not that everything has been bad, like you said. Mandalorian the first couple seasons. And some of the other stuff has been all right, but we've been punched too many times, and we're laying on the ground still, waiting and seeing maybe if this will recover. And I think Kathleen Kennedy being out and Dave Filoni, however you say his last name, I think that could be good, but
Yeah.
he's got a lot to prove, man. I mean, they've got a
Yeah.
lot. You got a lot of explaining to do, Lucy. He's got
Dave. Here's the thing. The thing about Dave is as much as I want to give him credit for a lot of the stuff that he did very well in animation, he still was the creative. He still was the head of creative at Lucasfilm with a lot of the stuff that came out that we all are not fans of. The Acolyte, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, etc., Book of Boba Fett, all that stuff. He was head of creative and greenlit all of that stuff. So I don't know that we're going to see an overwhelming change in content if Dave is in charge, because he's the one that was in charge of it to begin with. So yeah.
Yeah, and Grogan pointed out there's no toy like section for Star Wars anymore. You know, for years there was always, you know, the action figures. He says that the last peak was season 2 of Mando, which The Last Jedi did a lot to stomp over the excitement, but I feel like people were down, but the first season of Mandalorian really rekindled a lot of people's hope that good stuff was possible. And then people were excited for the second season. They really, and it delivered.
I think the main thing is the last time Star Wars felt like an event was the release of Force Awakens. I think it had been out of theaters for a while. We were waiting. We didn't know what it was at the time. We knew J.J. Abrams had signed on. He had just done a pretty decent job with Star Trek, you know. So we were like, okay, let's see what this is. And there was a lot of buildup for that, and it felt like an event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they gave us the product they gave us for that trilogy, and when it felt like Disney finally was getting it, they said, we need to take a step completely back from the Star Wars universe that we know, that we haven't seen yet. So I feel like that's what they did, but I don't know. It feels like it could be, you know, something, something maybe that we just pushed a little too far.
I think the modern movie culture right now has made it, and this isn't to say that Star Wars is good and it can be an event again, but it's made it harder to be an event. I mean, now it's funny to think about, but you can go, instead of going, we used to go to see midnight release. I remember in high school when episode 1, episode 2 came out, midnight release, like we were there with our lightsabers or whatever, dressed up. And they don't do midnight release anymore. Now you can go on Thursday and sometimes even Wednesday to a matinee and see a movie that's supposed to be released on Friday. And so the feeling of an event has kind of been taken away from us.
Yeah. I mean, you go on Tuesday and buy the popcorn bucket to see the showing on Wednesday for the movie that opens that Friday, you know. And if you're online, if you go see it on the opening day, you can know everything that happened. You know?
Yeah.
So Kevin Davis is just concerned that if the Starfighter movie and this don't make any money, it's going to be back to Disney Plus. And just so the Starfighter movie is scheduled for May 28th, 2027. That's the one starring Ryan Gosling. So I don't know. Do you have any high interest in that one? Do you think that's going to be really good?
I feel like at least the name has that 80s old school Star Wars feel, but I don't know. There's just not. It's even more. It's just as mysterious as the Mandalorian and Grogu at this point, because we have no idea what's going to happen in this movie or what story they're trying to tell from the trailers, and so I don't know. I'm not waiting with bated breath with super high hopes.
Tim, are you holding out hope for the Starfighter, Star Wars Starfighter movie? I think Tim is frozen. I haven't seen Tim move. I think his internet may be wonky.
Yeah, or he's really still.
Oh, he's pondering. He's pondering the future of Ryan Gosling in
I
Star Wars.
I hope they blow. I hope they blow my mind with Mandalorian and Grogu, and I hope they blow it out of the water with Starfighter. But an
Yeah.
Acolyte was the one I was thinking about when I said the Old Republic. Man, just
Yeah, it's just
some of it's
well,
just so disappointing.
yeah. Well, Gerg was saying that the Last Jedi had huge hype. I'm trying to get through some of these, and that Kevin says Star Wars fan base deserves some of the blame. Can't keep attacking folks, and they play victim. So I don't know. I mean, the fan base. I know that sometimes you could overreact, but like, have we really been receiving quality? You know what I'm saying? You show up, you pay your money, you want something at least entertaining, and you want it to honor the memory of what you liked about this, at least some. And I would say a lot of the problems, like, okay, this Starfighter movie, it's set 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. That's where it is in the timeline. And the problem with Mandalorian and Grogu was season 1 was set immediately after Return of the Jedi, right in there. But the further you go, the closer you get to this sequel trilogy timeline, and nobody cares about that timeline. I mean, they've had to redo their theme park, their Galaxy's Edge attractions. They're pulling the Rey and the Kylo Ren, and they're introducing Luke and Darth Vader. And I mean, Chewbacca was always there because he's in all of these. But you know what I'm saying? They're retheming it because they realize there's no fan base for this, resistance era.
You want the sacred timeline.
Yeah. And like you're saying, Travis, they jump back to the Acolyte. I think they did realize, okay, we've kind of burned bridges with this sequel timeline. We'll find some new earth, some fresh ground. We'll go to the high old Republic. We'll jump all the way back and play in that sandbox. And then we got, the power of many.
It's just so funny because they literally have the whole universe to mess with. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I think, what really made me like Skeleton Crew is the fact that it was completely set apart. You've got the whole universe. Go create something new. You know what I mean? Go create a good and interesting story that just happens to exist in the Star Wars universe, but set it apart. I mean, you've got a whole universe to play with, man. You don't have to have all these characters interacting. The reason that the Mandalorian started going downhill is when they started introducing characters that we knew, like Ahsoka and Boba Fett and all this. Like, why of all the people in the universe did we have to come against these characters that we've already seen, that we already know? We don't need to do that. Okay. This was a story that was going really well. You didn't need to introduce it to characters that we already know. And I think that's their big thing. They feel like they have to, because those characters do exist in the same universe. People like to see crossovers, even when the crossovers don't make sense. And that's the biggest problem, is they feel like it's sitting there and they've got to use it. I don't think
they've tried to Marvel Cinematic Universe it.
That's it. They did the same thing in Marvel. It's just like, the Eternals are here. We have to use them. No, you don't. You don't have to use the Eternals. You know what I mean? You could just totally not. That would be just fine.
Totally.
So,
Gerg is saying about Filoni, because we were going to get into the fact that, the people have made a lot of the idea that the evil queen is gone. Kathleen Kennedy is left, and all the horror will be gone with her. And Dave will save us because Dave made the Clone Wars and Dave made Rebels, right? But again, Tim was saying, like, Dave didn't just greenlight Ahsoka. He was the guiding creative force behind Ahsoka.
He wrote it. He wrote it. He wrote all of Ahsoka. Okay, so I mean, Dave owns every second of Ahsoka, not just because of what he had done with Rebels. Okay, he wrote Ahsoka.
He created the character of Ahsoka Tano, and you would think he would be protective of his most valuable, most popular creation, right? But instead of, like, this show that was ostensibly supposed to be about her, he made it about his Rebels characters instead, and somehow ruined who they were. It didn't capture what he had captured in that animated show. So, but Gerg was saying, like, to that thing, that the only thing Dave wasn't involved in was Andor. And Tony Gilroy says he wasn't involved. And you won't find a lot of Andor fandom with us, with Dan and Tim. Travis, where did you fall on Andor? Did you enjoy Andor, or?
I think Andor was okay. I didn't watch the second season, so it wasn't so great.
The first season was much better. I'll say,
yeah,
the first season was much better.
I appreciate them trying to do something like different, kind of the, I don't know, spy type aspect of it. But yeah.
Here's what I'll say. Like, who is asking for the story of Cassian Andor? Like, who was asking? Nobody, right?
And now, you know, speaking of Rebels characters, Zeb's going to be in Mandalorian and Grogu, and
now we get Zeb.
We're going to keep seeing those characters. So
yeah. Well, Dave's in charge now, so he's going to give you all of his greatest creations in every project. You know,
create his greatest hits.
yeah. Well, we've got. And but anyway, I think one of the things people like about Andor is where it takes place in the timeline. I mean, that just struck on me. Like it's a prequel to Rogue One, which was a prequel to A New Hope, which puts it right there in a sweet spot of a time in the universe that people actually care to see things about. You know, that's the other thing. You could have done things that happened during the rebellion. You could have jumped all over the rebellion Empire era and told stories in that time frame without focusing on our main guys. I mean, also, if you hadn't wrecked the sequel trilogy, you wouldn't have to retreat to that. But you know, so I don't know that Dave is going to save the day. And he says, just imagine the hype if they dropped this Mando movie a few years after the season 2 finale. I'd buy it. Like literally the end of season 2, you've got Luke Skywalker triumphant, you know, being the Luke Skywalker that we didn't get to have in The Last Jedi. And like, if a year later they dropped Mandalorian and Grogu, the movie.
Yeah. I mean, can you think of what was that? Season 2 ended in what? 2016, 2017, something like that, right? So 2016, 2017, can you imagine if we had not seen any Star Wars since then? Can you imagine that? Like, how big would the hype be for a project right now? It would be huge. But this is the biggest problem. The biggest problem is with Star Wars, distance is what really makes the heart grow fonder for the fans. And we've just been overwhelmed with all this mediocre content that seems to be getting 2 or 3 projects released per year. It's ruining it's diluting Star Wars is what it's doing.
So speaking of mediocre,
not quantity.
Absolutely.
Speaking of quantity of mediocre content, I've got a schedule here. So we've got Mandalorian and Grogu coming out in about a month. Late this year, we got the hotly anticipated Ahsoka season 2. You know, that's coming. So I know you're all on bated breath wanting to know what happens with the further adventures of like Ahsoka maybe in this one. You know, that's the hype. She might actually
You're not calling
appear.
it the Book of Ezra or anything.
The Book of Ezra. It should be Ahsoka season 2 : the Book of Ezra.
Yeah, I'm just curious how many close-ups they're going to get of Ewan McGregor's wife's booty in this one, because there was so many in the first season.
So many.
It's just like, just so you know, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi's wife, and this is what her back end looks like. Just in case you're curious, that's pretty much like the first half of season 1. So
and Filoni stays with his greatest hits. April 6th, we get a 2-episode premiere of the animated Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. That happens about 1 to 3 years post Revenge of the Sith is what I'm told. And I'm giving Filoni credit for this version of Maul, the cybernetic leg Maul that isn't dead at the end of. I'm saying that's a Dave Filoni thing. So he's revisiting some hits there, and then the next thing is 2027 and Starfighter. So you're going to get a steady stream. Kevin was worried about them going back to Disney Plus. They're not leaving Disney Plus. They're going to give you some cartoons. You know. And did you guys know that Maul show was coming? I didn't even I didn't know that was coming.
I saw something about that a while back. It's CGI, right?
Yeah, kind of like well, it's like all of them, like the Rebel show or the Clone Wars.
You know, I don't. Darth Maul's he's a big, I guess. You know, we love Darth Maul, but knowing his fate in Rebels, I don't know. That kind of knowing the future, and I think we've all kind of alluded to this. Knowing what happens in the future can impact watching something that takes place before it. You know, I don't want to watch Romeo and Juliet because I know they're gonna die at the end. Like, what? I don't know. Can you stretch Maul out because everyone loves him so much, even though you know his fate from Rebels? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, he went. Ahsoka took him down, right? In Mandalore.
No, he met back up with Obi-Wan, right? On
oh yeah, no, yeah. Oh, he hunted down Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan. He was like, "Oh, you want some more of this? Don't listen. This is my Star Wars advice. Don't pick a fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's the baddest man on 2 feet in the whole Star Wars lexicon, man. He will take you down.
Don't mess with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he's got a whole collection of appendages that he's stacked up. So, like, Tim, did you know much about this Maul show? Or are you looking forward to that?
I knew it was coming out, but honestly, that's one of those things that I would almost prefer it wasn't like that, because it wasn't a it was a great ending in episode 1, for that character. I just kind of feel like my interest kind of died there, and that's why all the stuff that they've kind of gone back and kind of retconned. I just never really was into that, but anyway.
Gerga's saying if the content is good, it doesn't matter how much we get. But I would say again, Travis hasn't watched Andor season 2. I enjoyed. I don't know how many seasons there are, but I've always enjoyed all of the Bad Batch.
Hold on, Dan. We gotta undress Kevin right now. I'm sorry, I can't stand by anymore. Okay, hold on. So Kevin, y'all love to cherry pick certain projects from Star Wars, Ahsoka, The Acolyte, to try to skirt around the issue. And then he says, y'all wasn't offended in the prequel when the white actors took charge. Hold on, buddy. If you think that you have some prequel appreciators here, you got something coming, because we absolutely despise the prequels. Dan will tell you that George Lucas stole $3 from him that day. I will tell you the same thing. I skipped school to see episode 1. I absolutely hated my life at that moment, because I could not believe George Lucas would do that to Star Wars. So don't talk to me about how much we love the white actors in the prequels. No. We absolutely despise the prequels, and you don't know what you're talking about, Kevin. Go back and watch our content. All right. Dan,
I would say just last week I went on a rant about how shell shocked I was after the Phantom Menace. That I didn't go see Clone Wars until my buddy told me I had to see what happened with Yoda. That's all he would tell me, and he said I had to go see it because I had sworn off all of Star Wars. I was never going to have any more Star Wars content in my life, because I was there for a midnight showing of episode 1, and I got an 8-year-old yelling whoopee as he blew up the Trade Federation. And then I got dude, I think maybe the most cringe thing in all of Star Wars is Phantom Menace on the ship when they're leaving Naboo, and Padme and 8-year-old Anakin are flirting. Don't tell me they're not flirting, and don't tell me it's not creepy. Don't tell. Luke's mom is a pedophile. That's all I have to tell you, folks, and it's clearly established in episode 1.
It's brought up. It's brought up in excruciating detail in that Weird Al song. Okay, that they're flirting and it is creepy. Okay. So absolutely.
Hey,
Look,
hey,
man,
Weird Al.
all right. You know, we absolutely will tell you that Amandla was terrible in The Acolyte, and she was. We will absolutely tell you that in Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson did not do her best work. She has done good work before. That was not it. Okay. But it has nothing to do with their color and everything to do with Disney Star Wars being garbage. The end.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I will have to acknowledge that as garbage as the prequels are, like the Disney Star Wars is a whole order of magnitude more garbage. They're not even taking swings. George at least tried to come up with original ideas. He wanted to show you places you hadn't seen before every time out. So did he miss sometimes? Sure. He blames Dave for The Acolyte. According to Leslie, it was going to be something different until he cut it up to make it lighter. I don't know that there's goodness to be found in The Acolyte. I
just don't think either. You can't. You can't do. Here's the thing: you cannot do universe-changing endings like they did in Secret Invasion and like you did in The Acolyte, and expect the fan base to just sit by and say, "Oh, that's cool." You know, Yoda was part of this whole Jedi cover up this whole time. That you can't expect us to be okay with that. And if you're okay with that, you're not a real Star Wars fan. Sorry, move on. Yeah.
It really was a character assassination of Yoda. And
it was.
I mean, you have whole troops of Jedi that can't fight. The whole thing. But again, we've had ups and downs. But let's see what Greg says. Yeah, that was ridiculous. And then honestly, how can they be so out of touch? I really don't. It's not hard. They've lost the tone, they've lost the spirit.
It was coming. If you saw the press tours before it was released, you knew it was coming. That's all I'll say, because the press tours let you know. What was it Charlie Barnett said? Charlie Barnett said something absolutely outrageous. He said something like Star Wars isn't just about good versus evil or something like it. Was just like, come on, man. What are you talking about? There is no good or evil. It's like this is Star Wars. It's like the classic tale of good versus evil. You know what I mean? Sure. So you can't. If one of your lead actors is saying that on the press tour, I think everybody knows that this is going to be a train wreck, because it's just not ever going to be. They don't have the proper motivation for the character that they're going to be portraying.
Star Wars is built on the dark side versus the light side. I mean,
that's it.
You can't. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. My understanding from Game of Thrones is it's all the characters are very gray, and there's not good or bad necessarily. Everyone is good and everyone is bad, but that's not Star Wars. And to try to capture whatever it was with that made it popular and try to apply it to other franchises just is not. It doesn't work. And that's what Star Wars is. It's good guys versus bad guys. That's what it's always been.
Yeah, for sure.
And to act like that's not it. It misses the point. You have to have a high adventure tone. Let's go here. Let's see. I gotta head out. Have a great stream, guys. Thanks, Greg. Thanks for coming in and sharing your opinions. Storytelling isn't the problem. There's nothing hard to understand. Star Wars don't want to see diversity and inclusion at all. Stop the. Kevin, we didn't come here to talk about that. That's not something that we don't care. Like, okay,
we're talking about people that paint themselves purple and blue and green. Okay, we don't care if it's an interesting character. None of those characters are interesting. None of those stories were good. That's why we didn't like it. Okay, has nothing to do with any of that other stuff that you're talking about.
I'm going to tell you right now. I walked out of The Last Jedi, and my biggest complaint. Now, here's the thing: I hate The Force Awakens. I despise it, and Tim can vouch. I despised it as soon as I saw it. I was out on the sequel trilogy before most of you, right? Tim, vouch for me. Tell the people I did not like The Force Awakens.
No, he did not. Yeah, I told him it was C+, and he came back and told me I was stupid for thinking it was a C+. So
Yeah,
that's how bad he thought it was. So yeah.
Because here's the thing: I'm a Han Solo guy. Han Solo is my hero, right? So, Luke is okay, but I'm here for Han, right? And so I thought he got done dirty in The Force Awakens. When I saw The Last Jedi, I did not have the violent revulsion that other people did about what they did with Luke, because again, my hero was Han. They'd already screwed him over. And my key complaint with seeing The Last Jedi is they went to a casino planet.
Mm-hmm.
And I got excited because you know what I thought I was going to get at the casino planet? Lando Calrissian. And he wasn't there. And I'm like, have you lost your mind? Why did you go to a casino planet? And we all know that Billy D was available and ready to come back because he came back.
He wasn't doing anything.
No,
he wasn't doing anything.
He was there for that piece together Rise of Skywalker stuff. And dude, was he living large at a casino? He should have owned that casino world. That's what Lando Calrissian should be doing. He should not be in some desert caravan doing whatever he was in the Rise of Skywalker. You know what I'm saying? So don't tell me I don't want diversity in my franchise about aliens that are green and whatever. Yeah, Lando's
one of the coolest characters in the entire universe. I love Lando.
Yeah,
I love him.
Oh, yeah, Lando's really cool.
Yeah, dude, he was great in that Han Solo movie.
Yeah,
Donald Glover.
Yeah, did a great job. Did a great job.
Yeah,
did a great job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, let's see. Let me go through here. Some of our early comments. Let's see. That was the title talk, and that. Oh, okay. Jon Snow does nothing. We'll jump back to the more recent ones as they come in. But he actually likes the AT-AT scene from the trailer. Going back to the trailers of this Mandalorian and Grogu movie, was there anything that stuck out to you? Anything that has you excited for this movie? Travis, what about?
I'm with him. The AT-AT was really cool, but it's still hard for me to get excited because I don't know what I'm going into. Like, I don't what's I'd like some kind of plot thread, and I understand, months out before the movie comes out, you want teasers and you don't want to give everything away. But when we're getting, and maybe there'll be another trailer, I don't know, but when you're getting to even so close, even the new Mario movie coming out, I kind of get an idea of what the story is there, even though it's Mario.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a lot of story. It's just Mario.
Yeah.
But I need a little bit more from them. Now, yeah, there were some cool scenes in it, that I thought were cool. And I was like, yeah, that gives me nostalgia of the days of my youth and loving Star Wars. But and the graphics and everything have come so far. CGI has come so far. They could do so many cool things. But I need some story. I need what are we doing? Like, where's Mando and Grogu going, and why is Zool involved? I don't know.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any hint. I guess Sigourney, we talk about inclusion. Sigourney Weaver, I guess, is here to replace Carl Weathers, right? Is that what's going on? The giver of assignments.
Yeah, I mean, I would. The one thing that I really want to have happen is I want Sigourney Weaver to look very slightly off camera as soon as they sit down at that table, and there would be a xenomorph there that she would whistle at like a dog. You know what I mean? And then we could tie Alien Earth into the Star Wars universe because Disney owns both properties. No, that would just be awful because Alien Earth was terrible. But anyway,
does that make the Alien Queen a Disney princess or something? Does that work?
Oh, wow,
that's true. We didn't think of, that's right. We
Alien Queen Disney princess. That is a whole new angle, and then we could have predators, of course. But the predators would be used to train younglings or something because they're not very threatening anymore. It's been established in the last few predators. They're not as formidable as we once believed. Flash ain't fast. Is this really the best Sigourney Weaver can do? I don't remember seeing her in anything since Defenders. What
Has
is
she
she?
been in
Oh,
anything?
I've seen her.
I mean-
I've seen her in the Frozen Empire. She was in
she
Frozen
was.
Empire.
She
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in
Was it?
Frozen Empire.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it was
Was it in the
Afterlife.
post credit?
She was at the end of
Oh,
Afterlife.
it was Afterlife. Afterlife. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, cameo at the very end.
Yeah, yeah. So there you go. She was in the Ghostbuster, and you know what? She was good in it. Well, she wasn't in there a lot. I feel like she captured that. Was not the paycheck cashing Sigourney Weaver. She actually brought some of the charm that she brought to the Ghostbusters films in the new Ghostbusters, as opposed to just being there with like a frown on her face. Thug Dog says, so Jabba's son is like a gladiator fighter or something. Yeah.
Seems like it.
He has
I
axes.
still think
He has like axes and stuff, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing a Hutt with muscles, though. I mean, he looks pretty beefed up.
The one thing I'll say is like a lot of the stuff, like the AT-ATs and a lot of the stuff that is CGI doesn't look CGI in the trailer. He looks CGI, and that's maybe where I'm kind of like little iffy on things. So we'll see. But
yeah, I contend that if you're in a gladiator arena, the only place a Hutt should be is up there in like the Emperor
absolutely.
box. That's where they belong.
They make people fight. They don't go fight themselves. They make people fight, and that's
right.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I mean, maybe they'll blow me away, but like I said, my friends sold me on Attack of the Clones, but saying I had to see what happened with Yoda, and that fight drove me nuts. But if he had said you have to see what they do with Jabba the Hutt, he goes wild on somebody, I don't think that would have sold me on it. I don't think I would have been like, oh yeah, no, I definitely got to see that. Let's see here. Flash If says Road to the Hutt does not skip arm day. No, he does not. There is no leg day for a slug, though, is there?
Yeah.
And then I Am the Night says almost nobody is talking about Star Wars movie that's coming out this year. The world is backwards, and it is. Is there a way back to cultural relevancy for Star Wars? Like Travis, do you see Star Wars becoming the cultural force that it once was?
No, and it can get better. I mean, it can. It's possible. Anything's possible. But I think, especially with the culture of movies now, and the amount of what Hollywood considers as the next big thing, I don't know that it can ever become the event that it once was. I don't think we're going to see that with movies anymore, really. But I could be wrong. That's just my thought.
Yeah, Tim, do you think there's can Star Wars recapture the cultural cachet?
It can be better than what it has been, but sure. To get it back to where it was is almost impossible. The world is just too big now. The world that they have built, that Disney has built, where going into the purchase, we only had 6 movies worth of content, a few TV shows, some comic books, and a few novels, right? We didn't have the plethora of content that we've got today now. And since Disney's taken over, they've almost like tripled the media output. So I feel like just the sheer quantity that we've gotten has built the universe up so big that we can't just put it all back in the can now. And so the things that made Star Wars great originally, it's going to be hard to recapture because Disney is not going to do it. You need to have distance in between your projects. They're not going to do that. All right. They're not going to wait 2 years in between movies. They're going to give us a couple of TV shows, a movie, and all that stuff every year. So it's really, really hard to do what George did initially when the universe has just gotten so big.
I mean, I know what, again, it would have totally offended George. It would have made him apoplectic. He would be furious. But then again, I don't feel like George is super hyped with with the sequel trilogy either. You know what I'm saying? They threw out everything he wanted to do, did something totally different. He's tacitly, you could tell he wasn't a big fan of it. If they really wanted to get the fans on board, they should give us back the original edits of the original trilogy. You know, if Han
that's
shoots,
never going to happen. That's never going to happen. I don't think. I think that when George decided to do those new releases, I think he kind of just waived it. That was it. But
Paula 1966 has a question. Do you think Keanu Reeves would play a great Darth Raven?
Oh man, I would love Keanu Reeves in the universe. Actually, Keanu Reeves had actually signed on, I think, with Carrie Ann Moss to do one of the characters in The Acolyte, and they wrote that differently or wrote it off or something. So there was something like that. They had approached him about it, and Carrie Ann Moss had agreed to do it already. And so there was, I heard something about that, but yeah, I would love to see him in the universe, but I just, I don't know if he would do it. He is getting up there now. So that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I know he's still going strong with John Wick, and, you know, I think we're getting to the point about what the next one's going to be, the fifth one. I think we're probably to the point where that's about to work itself out. But yeah, I mean, I like Keanu Reeves. I have yet to see him do a movie that I really, really despised. I suppose there's probably one out there somewhere. Oh, Babes in Toyland. There you go, Dan. All right, so he's done Babes in Toyland. Okay, but other than that, you know, I generally like Keanu Reeves. So, and you know, I would be a fan probably. But what do you think? What do you think, guys?
Yeah, Travis, would you like to see Keanu in the Star Wars universe?
I think that could be cool. I mean, I hope we would get something really quality bringing in Keanu Reeves. I don't know. I wonder what Keanu Reeves would think about that, especially with the current state of things. Like, is that something he wants to get into? But then again, I mean, hey, he was in Thor: Love and Thunder, and that was a mess. So maybe the story's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But you know,
so
that could be cool. But is he going to be a Jedi? Like, are we going to give him a lightsaber? Is he going to be a bad guy? Is he going to be a Han Solo scoundrel type? Like, he could be a lot of cool things, I think.
I mean, if he's a Darth, he's almost definitely a Sith, right? So
yeah, and Darth Raven.
I think that could be cool. I would envision him as a Jedi though, because he's very zen. He's like a very zen dude. I think he could pull Jedi easy. You know, like, you know, he's into that kind of stuff. And then she said that she heard that Abloth might be coming to Ahsoka season 2, and Natalie Portman might be returning as Padme, and Abloth will take her form to deceive Anakin. So, full disclosure, I'm not sure.
I would anticipate that not happening, because remember at the timeline that we're at, just remember where everything is, you know, because we're already past Vader at this point. So I don't think there's really anywhere for that to go. I know that they did the flashback stuff where she was fighting like her memory of him in season 1, but and you know, but that wasn't actually him. That was like the memory. And then but in timeline wise, that really wouldn't make a lot of sense. You would have to go back.
Was she in season 3 of Mandalorian?
Yeah, she was in season 3. Yeah.
All of Ahsoka takes place after all of that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, the Ahsoka series is well past Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
This is,
I don't know that would make sense.
Yeah, so you're not going to have Anakin because he's dead. And this, you know, that we're not. Yeah, the Ahsoka series.
Unless it's like a flashback. Which I think would be kind of silly. It would be kind of silly to have that that intricate of a storyline in a flashback, I think. But I mean, this is
and there were
they love their flashback.
There were some. Was it Ahsoka where they had the flashbacks? No, that was Obi-Wan, right? Where they had
Obi-Wan.
Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that wasn't Ahsoka.
But no. But Ahsoka, it was Hayden Christensen, right? It was
Hayden
Christensen.
He was.
They did the thing where it showed him, and it was.
Yeah, but that was just like some background. So I don't know. The mother of Mortis gods from the Clone Wars. I remember those episodes of the Clone Wars where they had the cave, and there was the paintings on the cave, and then Anakin. I think he talked to the thing, but I remember that. But trying to, and then I don't know that Natalie Portman, as much as geeks love Natalie Portman, I don't know that Natalie Portman loves us back quite as hard.
If we get Natalie Portman and Sigourney Weaver in Star Wars in the same year, guys, I mean, whoa, the nerds are going to go crazy here. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are,
may bring about the end of the world.
Your nerd goddesses right there.
Oh yeah. Hey, my Slimer's been, where is he? He's around here somewhere. That's my Slimer. Oh yeah. You've got your Slimer. I have a popcorn bucket back here in these myriad shelves, but he might have fallen over at some point. Oh, dude, I've been rewatching the real Ghostbusters.
Oh, God, it's a great show.
Yeah,
great show.
If you want the best version of Slimer isn't in the movies. The best Slimer is the Ghostbusters mascot from the real Ghostbusters cartoon. That is the fun stuff right there.
That is the Slimer from my childhood.
Yeah, in the World Between Worlds. Yeah, I remember the world. I like the World Between Worlds because that was in the end of. I know there was various episodes that touched on that, but I believe it is the World Between Worlds that's at the end of Rebels that Ezra's in, where you got these windows into other realities and you got time travel and stuff. Yeah, and this is the place where we go to erase the sequel trilogy. We're gonna, you got to use that. Go there, jump back in time and make the sequel.
They're gonna multiverse the Star Wars.
Multiverse of Batman.
They're gonna multiverse Star Wars, and I am gonna go insane. Anyway,
they did it with Star Trek. I mean, right? Kind of.
Yeah, they did.
Sigourney Weaver. Yes, Paula. Sigourney Weaver was great in Aliens. She was great. She was great in so many things. Ghostbusters, Aliens, Galaxy Quest. It's just, nowadays it feels like when she shows up in these nerd things, she's not bringing the enthusiasm anymore. Defenders was the last big one that we got. And
it was bad.
Now, Tim, I'm going to warn you, Paula, you could throw out your suggestion, but Tim is not going to like your multiverse for the Ghostbusters because Tim is opposed to all multiverses. But I sometimes enjoy a multiverse.
Not only that, but if I have to see that abortion of a movie that they told me was Ghostbusters with Melissa McCarthy and Leslie Jones, and I'm gonna go insane. Okay, that was not Ghostbusters. That will never be Ghostbusters. It's never gonna be Ghostbusters. And one of these days, people will recognize how right I am. But anyway, go ahead, Dan.
I'm going to say the best Ghostbusters multiverse story has already been done. And it was an episode of the real Ghostbusters where there's a film deal and a movie gets made about the Ghostbusters. The cartoon Ghostbusters go to see it and they don't show clips, but it's obviously they went to see the movie Ghostbusters and they don't like it. And Peter's like, that doesn't look anything like me. What are they, That's a classic episode. They're going to see the movie, but if you want to pitch the multiverse, I will. I like multiverses. I don't like them in the middle. I think they could be fun as like a not even as a conclusion, but kind of as like a coda. If you've wrapped up your whole story, like I enjoyed the Ninja Turtles that were airing on Nickelodeon when my kids were younger. The ones, not the ones that are doing now. I haven't caught any, but the ones that ran in the, about 7-8 years ago. and
yeah,
the 2012. When they were done with their total run, they did a few episodes that were like a multiverse thing where they tied in with all the other Ninja Turtles, the 80s cartoon and all, or early 90s cartoon and all of it. And even the comic book version, the really dark comic version. And that was fun. And it was after the, it wasn't the way they tied it up. It was just kind of like a coda. Like, you know, we've tied up our storyline and here's this fun interaction. So, I think we've gotten through.
That's it. Yeah.
Did we get through all the comments?
I believe we did.
And we're still waiting to know I'm still waiting to know the Ghostbusters multiverse idea. I think so. But anyway, if we don't get it out there soon, I don't know. Did you guys have any other big observations or takeaways about the future of the Star Wars franchise and how they might reclaim some of their glory?
Well, I think getting Star Wars people in charge is a start. I like as much as I'm not looking forward to this movie, I do think that Jon Favreau is a guy that actually does have a real passion for Star Wars. I think that Bryce Dallas Howard has a real passion for Star Wars. I think that I think that Dave Filoni, with all his faults, like we've talked about, does have a passion for Star Wars. So getting Star Wars people in charge is a good start. That's really the main problem we had with Kathleen Kennedy. Even though she was in charge of Lucasfilm for so long, she really was, she was a lifelong executive producer. She never really was somebody who 1000% was all in on this universe. And because of the stuff that they did when she was in charge, you totally can see her fingerprints all over it. And the fact that she was looking at things as a producer and not looking at things as a fan. And I think now we've kind of got people who are more going to be looking at it as a fan. And that's something that I think is it's encouraging, but we still have a long way to go because there's a lot that we have to fix. So I don't know if it can be done, but I do think that the leadership is something that is encouraging.
Travis, did you want to add anything to that?
I think something Tim said earlier is really good. With the success of Skeleton Crew and how I really enjoyed Skeleton Crew and it was just smaller scale. Give us
remind me what was the main protagonist, Dan? Was he a stuck-up white guy? Remind me, Dan. I don't think he was.
no, he was a young African American boy.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Okay, all right. Yeah, continue, Travis. Go ahead.
I think we just need something new. We don't need something that ties to everything. Marvel's doing that, and it works sometimes, and it doesn't. We don't need to tie everything to all these characters, all these stories we already know. Go back to George and give us a new planet that we've never seen, something cool, something fresh, something new, and maybe we can reclaim some of that. But I think we need to take a break. Let's breathe a little bit. Star Wars, when they came out, those movies, the prequels, they came out like every other year. Like, give us a little time to build up to it. But it can happen. Will it? We'll see.
Yeah. Skeleton Crew. I think another thing, the reason that we liked it is you're not even 100% sure where in the timeline it happens. Right. This could be. I think it's Republic. You're pretty sure of that, but is it the Empire time? Is it the Resistance? We really don't know. And that's it's kind of nice to just have this story that's happening in a little pocket of that universe. But anyway, Travis, tell the people where to find you on the internet, and if you got anything new coming out that they need to know about.
I can be found at withtravis.com, where I do reviews of movies and shows and books for families. Right now I'm watching through One Piece, so I'll have some stuff on there about that soon. And then I'm also on YouTube at Build with Travis if you're into Lego stuff. So look me up.
And we're the Nerd Champs. If everything goes properly, boom. Form of we got to figure out what we're gonna be like, the form of and the power. But anyway, if things go well, you can come back here on Sunday, and we will be releasing our video about Indiana Jones versus Rick O'Connell from the Mummy franchise. You know, can Mummy 4 succeed where Dial of Destiny failed? So that should be on your screens by Sunday. I am tomorrow recording with our frequent contributor Jason a deep dive into the entire 7-film series of Scream, and we should have that up for you too fairly soon. So there's a lot of new excitement here on Nerd Champs. You know, if you caught us here and you want to get into some other meta horror deep dives, we currently have our new Nightmare versus Scream video just dropped day before yesterday. So check that out. And and then go to withtravis.com and read up on the latest things that you might want to enjoy with your family. And until next week, Tim, OH.
IO.